This is Control Structure, episode 120 for, what day is today? December 13th, 2016. Big week for everyone listening. This show has notes. Visit thenexus.tv/CS120 to see them. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
I'm getting a little cold.
A little cold. It is a bit cold and snowy, too. This is our first, actual good snow. I mean, there's snow the other day, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
And guess what? Deer season just stopped, and now there's snow. And there wasn't snow for deer season, so when I shot my deer, they didn't leave a good trail in the snow, and so that didn't work out so good.
Well, didn't really leave a trail in the nice snowpack, that is.
Yes, because
there any snowpack.
Wasn't snow for them to trail. So yeah, I had a couple of deer that I maybe could have tracked, but...
So you needed to use X-ray vision or something?
X-ray vision, yes, something like that.
If possible. So, this looks like is going to be our last podcast before Christmas, if not the entire year. I'm not sure if the others in Minnesota want to do a year-end show or not, but yeah. Let's see. I think I mentioned that there was a whole 5-year anniversary thing for the Nexus, site or network or whatever. So yeah, that was last month or so. But that was mildly fun, that is. So, anyways, I've been working on my blog a little bit, which I will be talking about. Let's see. So, yeah, it was yesterday. I got one of those. It's sort of like a bike rack, but it makes a regular bike into a stationary bike, and so you can actually use it inside the house. So
that was pretty neat. I'd never seen one of those before.
Yeah. So yesterday I set that up and was using it for maybe 45 minutes or so. And by the way, Chris might be coming in, so if you hear some loud crashing noises and Chris's voice, that's what it is. So Chris texted me yesterday saying, I can't make it tonight, and I'm like, we weren't meeting tonight because you were coming over, and I mentioned that to him, and he's like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So, but that didn't happen. So, because Chris apparently doesn't like to come to things or something.
Apparently. Or maybe he lost his phone.
Maybe he did. Or his mom needed him or something. Because, suddenly his mom is, kind of needy because she had surgery a few months ago. So, anywho, you looking forward to Christmas?
Yes. Getting a couple of days off, and after Christmas, going out muzzleloader hunting, since I still have to shoot a bunch of deer to fill all of my tags. So, since I couldn't do it with a gun with a scope, I'm gonna go do it with the gun with black powder, round balls, and flintlock and open sights.
Yeah.
Like a real man does it.
Yeah, and you did it all by yourself.
That's right.
Raspberry?
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 Do you have neighbors?
Not yet.
Raspberry?
Raspberry!
Do you have old family videos at home sitting in a shoebox that you can't play?
I don't, because my parents have those and they're on VHS.
If this is you, you should have a Raspberry Pi film converter thing. So this guy, he had this old... would it be 8mm and 16mm home video? The kind when you see in a movie theater from way back when or whatever, you hear that and kind of flashing and shaking a bit with the lines coming through it. Good old classic stuff.
From the 70s.
From the 70s, exactly. Okay, I just remembered the weird one from my grandfather used to be into those home videos, and once when we were visiting years back, they got home videos of my mom when she was little. There's my mom all naked when they're changing her diaper. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I made sure to throw those out.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, clear your head. Brain bleach.
What were we talking about?
Converting home videos, like
right.
Old film videos.
Old home videos. So anyways, this person's grandfather, yes, his grandfather, he had lots and lots of these, 130 reels worth, which if you're just doing one, I imagine you could probably have them converted for, not too incredible amount of money, but since he had so many, it would be a lot of money. So he thought it would be cool to do that with a Raspberry Pi and a camera, and so he started hacking and building stuff, and he's got this solution with software where he takes 3 different photos of each frame.
Of different, exposure times?
Yes, exactly, different exposure times, and it's the software that patches them together to try and get a better photo for him.
So this one projector, I think it might have been the 16mm one, that he pretty much took it apart, put the Pi inside, and had a light shine through the opposite way, inside into the camera, and then I think it was the official Raspberry Pi camera that he connected to it, and I think he had to adjust the focal length a little bit, but he eventually got it. So I think he said that he was able to do 2 frames every second or so, eventually.
Which is pretty impressive for that. Interesting thing, I noticed he used the NEMA 17 stepper motor, and I was like, I know what those are. That's what my 3D printer uses.
So, yeah, this was pretty ingenious there. So, unfortunately, I think it's because of my no script that I'm not able to, click through the, all the example photos and, different exposures.
I'll go to the different exposure photo, because that was actually kind of neat.
Yeah.
Seeing what it looked like. I mean, more or less what you expect, but apparently, I don't know how the software is going to choose between them, of which one's best, though.
I think he set it up that it combined them.
Yes, exactly. So somehow putting them together is getting more depth of colors or something out of that, which, that's an interesting concept to be interesting to play with.
So he overexposes it to bring out the details in the darker areas, then he underexposes it to bring out the details in the bright areas.
So do the 2 exposures balance each other out so you end up with those details in the end, essentially?
So, you've never heard of HDR photography, have you?
I don't believe so.
So, it's essentially...
Oh, wait a second, I think so.
You essentially have, a DSLR camera, and then you take a few photos, each with different exposure times. So when you get this photo, all of the photo has this marvelous detail on it.
It's where they have the colors are so rich and full. There's colors that you just don't see in real life. Yes, exactly. It's so rich in the colors.
Yeah. So, but fun stuff there.
Yes.
So last week we explained quite a bit about AMD Zen, their new microarchitecture that's going to, be so great and stuff. So they did a live stream earlier today, and they introduced and unveiled their latest CPU that's going to carry this architecture. And so they did this live stream, and it was all about gaming and stuff. So they did a few benchmarks, and they proved that it could at least match the top of the line Intel CPU, their Extreme Edition, and that's pretty good. AMD has not been able to do that for 10 years now.
It's good to see competition. It's good to see that they're actually showing that. So that conference there, were they showing real numbers? This is fact that they have done this then, and it's not just rumor at this point in time.
So they did 2 benchmarks. They did Blender, a Blender rendering.
Okay.
So that's a 3D modeler type thing, and you could they had side by side the AMD chip and an Intel system.
Perfect.
and like they had it kicked off at the same time, and you could literally see it drawing in, and I'm like, wait, they're like, are they the same? No, they are slightly different, because apparently the order in which the little tiles are rendered are slightly random.
Okay.
But they finished at like the same time, and then they did you know what Handbrake is?
No.
It's a video encoder. So they they brought that up and encoded, like, I'm not sure like how much video, like over about a minute or so, the same file, and the AMD chip finished like 5 seconds faster.
That's good.
So slightly faster.
I like that they did things that are real life, like normal people who do video encoding and normal people who do 3D slicing and 3D modeling.
Yeah.
Well, normal.
Well, how should I say this? People out there in the industry.
People that would care about buying these CPUs.
Yes. So, and then they, put some games up there, and I really couldn't tell because of the live stream and the fact that I had it running in, like, the size of a credit card on my monitor. But supposedly, they played identically and looked identical, like, throughout, I think it was like this Battlefield match.
Video games are a bit more subjective, though, because there's no hard facts there, unless you're looking at it like a frame rate or something.
Well, that and, like, they're kind of variable. So, like, unless there's, like, a scheduled, scripted benchmark, they're going to be different, by definition.
The video encoding one was a good test, because then you got a number. It was 5 seconds faster. Like, that's real.
So, and then they also showed off their new video card architecture, which apparently it could do 4K, like 4K resolution at over 60 FPS, which is pretty impressive. So, another impressive thing that they unveiled the day before was Radeon Instinct. So, like we've talked about how Nvidia's like breaking into the server market, and it's like especially for AI and deep learning and like all these financial calculations that Nvidia puts their chips into servers, and like a whole class of calculations get a lot faster because of their CUDA stuff. So AMD has decided they want a piece of that pie too. So they have, I know we've mentioned the, I think it's like the R9 Fury, where they have like their GPU and then like the memory like right next to it on the die itself.
That way it would be faster access being this closer.
Yeah, and like a lot more bandwidth. So they're actually making a version of that for servers.
Wow, very nice.
So like anything that maybe not necessarily computationally expensive, but requires a lot of memory bandwidth, like that would be like a lot faster.
A lot of memory bandwidth.
So like you're shoveling through a lot of data, but not really processing it that much.
So that probably would not be Bitcoin mining.
Probably not.
That's more calculations, I would think.
And Bitcoin mining hasn't really been on GPUs for a while now.
Hasn't been profitable.
So
it was a fad.
Yes. Now, just as a side note, I was thinking about how the first person to ever like use Bitcoin to buy something was like a pizza for like, I thought it was like 200 Bitcoin.
Really?
Yeah.
So how do you even convince someone when you're starting off a new currency like that? It's digital, nonetheless. How do you convince them? Give me something for this magical thing that's a number.
So, and then I'm thinking, it's like, okay, well that was, I don't know, like 5 years ago at least. 200 Bitcoin now is like $100,000.
Oh, really?
Something like that, yeah.
That's pretty crazy that it's gone up that much. Huh.
Yeah.
So, this is a part of a Bitcoin that I didn't quite get. So the number is unique and it's like yours, like if your wallet's stolen, someone else can use it. But when you give someone your Bitcoin, the number would have to change, otherwise you'd still know what the number is. So how does the number not run out of numbers?
I am not sure of that at all. I haven't really looked that closely, but that is a mystery to me.
Yeah, it's a little confusing there, because I remember reading about it. There's like saying like the police and stuff. I've heard that before, if they raid someone or whatnot, like about them taking the Bitcoins because it's money.
But like some other federal branch or like judge or something, at least at one point said that Bitcoin is like a commodity, so it's not technically money.
Interesting.
But I think they may have reversed that now, but I don't know. It's like complicated, and Bitcoin is kind of created antithetical to governments anyway.
Yeah. That's the whole purpose of Bitcoin.
So, and apparently governments don't like being subverted. Who knew?
Yeah.
So, speaking about memory chips and whatnot, let's talk about a different kind of memory. The one that's actually kind of permanent. NAND. Like solid-state drives. So, apparently, due to especially the latest Samsung recall of like all of these phones that have been catching fire, that's caused kind of a shortage in the flash storage market.
I was confused about that. So they're recalling all these phones. Was the phone defective or was the battery defective? Like, why couldn't they put a different battery in the phone?
Well, they tried to put a different battery in it.
Oh, that was the second recall.
Yes.
Okay.
So, anyway, so that's caused, since phones use this flash memory, that it, kind of used up some of that. So people are, looking towards hard drives now for some storage, but because the companies felt, kind of cut back on production, that means their suppliers cut back on production. So now hard drive prices are going up, along with the flash storage.
So there's no good option then.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Ooh, so you're looking at...
I'm seeing what kind of investment options a Bitcoin might be. So apparently today, right now, one Bitcoin equals $777.25 in US dollars. So it's interesting. You can see what the hype was, and I remember this was about the time period where we talked about it and things. Back in 2014, there was that huge spike.
Well, just before 2014,
okay.
I think.
I remember it was a while ago, like I would have been living down in this area. And then around 2015, it's dropping, and then it levels. It levels between 2016 and 2015, and now it's climbing again. But it's more of a steady climb, and that makes me wonder: is this a sustained thing that's going to go now? It's kind of established itself.
Because
famous.
I remember this. It was like right around Thanksgiving, 2013. Because I made a post satirizing this.
Ah, I see. So, looking at it from a year's time back, January 2016 to now, it was someplace around $420. So, it's gone up about your $200-ish. Now, what I would like to see would be to compare that with, say, the stock market. Like one of the famous stocks. What's the difference in, like, say, the past year? Which one has been more profitable? Or have they been about the same?
So, something that's been profitable for Microsoft, that really no one thought about. So, you know how they're doing, like, all these Surface products?
Yes, like the things you can draw on and the fancy hockey puck thing we're going to use to do air hockey game on the Microsoft Surface thing.
So, apparently they released the Surface Hub earlier this year, and it's actually taken off. This is like a teleconferencing TV, if you will. So apparently they are offering this like a 55-inch version for like $8,000, and then like an 88-inch version for like ludicrous dollars, like $20,000.
So it's a TV with a built-in video camera and microphone?
Yes, along with whiteboarding capabilities.
Okay.
So, like, apparently they were thinking that, a company would probably buy, like, about 5 or so, but it turns out everyone was way off, and the average customer is buying about 50 of these.
What? I would not think that people would buy that because that's not really anything special. But maybe it's just about being packaged together and doing a good job of being packaged together, and that's why they're selling, even though anyone could have been doing this years ago. It's just that no one apparently did it.
So the average Surface Hub customer is buying about 50 devices for each deployment, and the company will hit more than 2,000 by the end of the year. One car manufacturer bought 1,500. So, yeah.
So can you buy Bitcoins in stocks just directly? Of course, I guess that would defeat the whole purpose if you did like through an IRA or something, though. Well, if you did a Roth, that would be okay because it's after tax dollars.
It would be more of like a foreign exchange, like buying foreign money.
Yeah. Than
like buying a stock, I'd think.
I'm not sure how that works for taxing purposes. Interesting.
Yeah. Again, that was, I think, what the court was, like, trying to figure out. Like, whether it should be taxed or what. The government
wants their cut, as always.
So, but, Microsoft says that this will be $1 billion business for them.
I can see that. If they're selling 50 a customer, that's pretty crazy. And the thing that might be why this is taking off could be is times have changed. Working remotely is a lot more common now. Like, even I know when I first started working remotely, we only had a few remote employees at the time. The previous remote employees had not worked out very well for the company. They were a little bit hesitant to let me work remotely, but they did. Since we've had many more employees work remotely, and they've had very good success with them working remotely, it's becoming a trend.
So, let's see, Forrester report commissioned by Microsoft. I think this is where the value lies. It's like so well integrated with like Skype and like all this easy whiteboarding capability that it's saving 15 to 23 minutes per meeting of just setting things up.
Which I could see that. I will say though, Skype for Business has really good whiteboard stuff in it. However, the audio quality of Skype for Business sounds like you're talking in a bucket. But if that's a software problem, they can fix that.
Or maybe just a bandwidth problem.
That could be too. So I could see that being good, because if it just works and it works easy, yeah.
So, but then again, Skype for Business is not actual Skype. It
is different than Skype. That's correct.
Yeah, if you remember, was it Office Link or something?
That is what Skype for Business is.
Yes. Yep. So, like the whole integration and ease of use thing, like, you're not fumbling with a projector for a few minutes. Like it actually gets started. It's like, okay, let's get this guy on, and boom, okay, let's draw something.
Yeah. So, it's a good idea.
So, yeah, I can definitely see why businesses and like their customers and stuff would want to buy as many of these as possible because it saves them time.
Yeah. And
time is money.
It's a lot of money, but as you're saying, and I've seen this at work before, when you get into the meetings with lots of people, that time is multiplied very quickly, very expensively. You could easily be burning that much money in one meeting.
Yeah.
And in those 20 minutes in just one meeting sometimes. Because so that can make that difference.
Yeah, because of highly paid consultants.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. Once you put it in that context, of course, buy a lot of these.
Yes.
So, all right. Something that old businesses use, and modern ones, I guess, are PIN numbers. So I came across this, and it's an analysis of just, PIN numbers, essentially. And, the ones you want to avoid are like the ones beginning with a 1 and a 2, and probably with a 0.
Now, I'm wondering, though, is if those ones are ones that are easy to type on your keyboard, because that's the beginning. So it was 1 and 2 on my touch. Okay, 1 and 2 on the top two, so that would apply both for keypads and for computers, I guess.
Yeah, because like the 0 is separate from...
Yeah, the 0 is like way over there.
Unless you're talking about a keypad, or like a calculator.
That's true.
Thing.
In that case, the 0 is easy to slam, because it's the biggest key there.
So, and then of course the repeats. It has like a very nice visualization down here. Like you can see the stripe where all the 19s are because people like years and birthdays and anniversaries and stuff.
Which I think is common in passwords. I've noticed that the parents tend to shoot for stuff like that. It's like,
So the good ones are the ones that start with 7, 8, and 9. So.
But now that you told everyone, those aren't the good ones anymore.
Well, I mean, 7, 8, and 9, that's like a space of like 3,000. Whereas like most people would probably be using the repeats or the years.
There's enough people that are still use the low ones that are safer if we're using the high ones. So along with that comes the shielding your keypad at the ATM and things like that.
Yeah. Or, let's see. I have never used an ATM.
You've never used an ATM. That works until you need raw cash, or do you do cash back at the grocery store?
That, yes, I do use that, like, as much as I can.
Which would work. You still have to type in your PIN there.
True.
But you don't get the thing with ATMs are famous for the reader. I don't know how that works. You put the reader in and somehow it'll read your card as it slides through it. And
skimmers.
Like okay, skimmers. There you go.
Yeah. So, I haven't I have not set up a Postgres database recently, but I stumbled across what is essentially a cheat sheet for like a variety of Postgres commands. So all the way from just installing it to setting up tables and dropping databases and creating stuff.
Just your basic stuff you use every day if you're working with that database.
Yeah. But then again, I don't really work with Postgres on a daily basis. I just like it.
Which is why we need the cheat sheet.
Yes. So now for some appreciate. So I would like to appreciate two things. Font Squirrel for the first one. So especially their font generator. So what this does is that you drop in a few web fonts from, say, Google Fonts. Remember that one site?
The one that Google has fonts. I remember you showing it to me. It was a while ago now.
So you download those, and then you can put those through this web font generator if you want to actually host it yourself and be as fast as you possibly can. You can do this, and you can select what kinds of characters you want in your fonts, and in order to cut down on the size. And then you can also make a few little tweaks, which I pretty much explicitly do, don't do anything.
Just to keep it minimal?
Yeah. Or as original as possible. So, you can, the most compression, no, I wouldn't say compression, but, if you're using, just standard English letters, you don't really need to have the Cyrillic character set in your font, because you're not, using Cyrillic characters on your website, for instance. So, you can go through that, and then, what I think I've been sort of infamous for using base 64 fonts and embedding them into the style sheet. So, it's just a one-stop download for, all your styling needs.
So, random rabbit trail here. I just had the realization that if you had enough bits to store the font in, that you could make a font that has every single possible font within that font.
Except that would defeat the purpose of a font.
It would. But you could have a font that would do that. I know, it was just random real thought. So at the top of the page it has a tab called Almost Free. That's a weird tab.
Yeah, so it's basically the licensing.
Okay, so they have cheaper fonts that pre-baked for you that you can get to. Okay, I was just curious because that was a weird way of saying you have to give us money.
So let's talk about font compression. So there are a variety of formats fonts can come in. There's the TTF and then the OTF, which are what your Windows, your Linux, and what your operating system uses natively. And then there are the compressed fonts, mostly WOFF and WOFF2. which I've known about the 2 one for a while, but I recently realized that, hey, pretty much every modern browser supports these.
Except for Opera Mini.
Which is pretty old, actually. So, and if you're using Opera Mini, use your platform's native browser now, please. I noticed this as like, okay, well, Firefox and Chrome support it, obviously, and so does Safari for people stuck on iOS and Mac.
Good for Edge. Microsoft's trying to.
Yes.
The best they can to keep it up.
Yes. And IE is the old Edge, so you don't really need to worry about that. So I'm like, okay, and then I also have some good fallbacks.
Trouble is, though, IE, as old as it is, it's still going to be around as long as people have Windows 7, and some people just ain't going to give it up.
Yes. And even if they upgrade to Windows 10, they'll probably still use Internet Explorer.
Could you install IE for me, please?
So, like my title font is, I think it's called Questrial, which looks very similar to Century Gothic. So I have Edge over here, and I have Internet Explorer over here. They look fairly similar.
They do look. I see the one on the right looks a little bit bigger. And here is our spruce quote of the day. The smug halls are shying, whereas Anne Ernest's suit is looking salute.
Yeah,
not sure what the word means.
It's like soluble.
Okay. Apparently the suits can't get wet. Otherwise they melt. That would be why they're shying.
Yes.
In the halls, apparently.
So, yeah, it's not exact, but it's fairly, like, geometric and whatnot, so...
It looks good.
Yeah. So anyways, this WAF2 font compresses fonts down even more. So, like, last week, my CSS with its fonts in it was about 100K, which my server likes to compress that, and that would squeeze it down to about 72 or so. So with the WAF2 fonts, the CSS is now about 57K? Yeah, 57 kilobytes, which gets compressed down to about 40, which is even smaller.
Which today, with as you sit here on your FiOS internet that can download apparently 37 gigabytes in like 15 minutes, you think, well, who cares about those 30 kilobytes? But when I'm on my phone and the signal isn't that great, those 50 kilobytes are kind of nice to have back.
Yes. So, but, because your phone is, like, not total crap, it'll use the compressed version, so you're saving 30 kilobytes there.
Yes.
So, yeah. But, of course, because we're practically sitting right next to the server, the bandwidth between us is like a gigabit.
So even faster.
Yes. So I was in a rather lively conversation with someone online over the virtues of inlining your fonts in your CSS versus splitting them out into separate files, or rather leaving them as separate files.
I bet they were concerned about code cleanliness and separation.
Not so much, but I was like, okay, like I sort of broke it down of like how fast it would be. So, like I mentioned, okay, let's assume a 8 megabit connection with a 50 millisecond round trip time. So, the idea is that you're, sending out fewer requests to get everything. And in the time you are waiting for another file, you could have been downloading a bigger file. Mm-hmm. Because, you download your CSS, and then you'd have to load your font from a different URL, so that's another round-trip time, versus just, downloading all the font, the larger CSS right then and there, and not have to, wait for yet another request after the first one. So that is why I inlined them. So, but, then again, I optimized that for HTTP 1.1. With HTTP 2, like, you don't really need to open another connection because it's multiplexed. So you can have like several URLs being requested over at the same time over a single connection. And once my server gets upgraded to that, then I will probably split them back out.
That's probably a fair compromiser, because then it does give you a little more cleanness there.
So with caniuse.com, which is essentially like a big table of like all the feature sets for the web stuff across all the different browsers, HTTP 2 has very good support.
It does.
Yes. So probably even more than WAF 2, because even IE partially supports HTTP 2, at least on Windows 10. So, yeah, that's, getting faster all the time.
Yes.
And it also helps that my web page is less than like half a megabyte.
Yeah, and that's a pretty big deal when people land on your website, because they don't want to wait around for it to open and such for you. That I can even mine, because mine's a slow laptop, and I probably loaded it for a while. So, I have actually, so it probably is cached, come to think. But yeah, I mean, that's fast. As you said, we're sitting right next to it, though. So it better test the, like, what's it, Anonymous, I believe. It's been a while. We go hit your server from, is it like .org or something? So if you have tracking, you can see where websites hit you from. You can find out where I actually am at right now when I go, that's not the website.
So now that I recall it, the other guy that I was conversing with, he was saying that if you download the CSS so fast, it means you can actually render the page faster. Then I'm like, okay, well, I don't really see the point in rendering the page, like...
Do you have the text?
Well, that, but, like, once the fonts download, you're gonna have to redraw it all out again.
This is true. So it uses an in-between font.
Well, probably the base fonts from the operating system. So, I'm like, I really don't see the value of, like, getting everything, like, so fast if you're going to have to redraw it again pretty quickly anyway.
Which does make sense since it's coming down so fast.
So then, granted, downloading CSS is render blocking, but it's not download blocking. So, while your browser is downloading the CSS, it's already parsed out the HTML and says, oh, I need to get this image and this image and this image. So by the time your CSS is downloaded, some of the images have too. So... like, it gets the very nice effect of boom, all at once.
So, your fancy HTTPS stops me from using your blog? Because Anonymous, you have to pay to use HTTPS connections?
Aha! So that means I am anonymous and secure.
Well, it means that people can't use it if they want to use the free version of Anonymous.
I can honestly say you were the first user to request that.
To request non-HTTPS?
To request compatibility with this.
Oh, okay.
The free version of this, that is.
Well, I mean, us, security freaks don't want to show out our credit card to some company and have it tracked back to us.
Well, I'm not asking for your credit card.
Well, they are if I have to get the premium version. Anyway,
that's your problem.
I guess so. It's my choice if I want to land on your website or not. Oh, interesting website that I haven't really looked at them all the way yet. I just randomly thought of it. My brother found this the other day. It's privacy.com. And PayPal used to do this. In my PayPal account, I could go and get a temporary credit card number, and then I could expire it later or whatnot.
Yeah, I've heard of stuff like this.
Then they did away with it. Well, apparently this website's bringing it back, which I thought was a really nice idea. Anyways, I was going to look into it here soon. It reminded me when we were talking to privacy and credit cards and things. But that's a neat idea. One number for each site. Kind of like I give an email address to everyone that I sign up for, and then if they spam me, I kind of know who spammed me because you're the only one that knows that address.
Yes.
Gotcha. The funny thing was, I had one company once. There's like some free fax service where I used their domain name in my address before the @ sign and then gave it to them. And when I submitted it, they're like, sorry, you can't use that email address. I was like, really? You actually added that check to your email address validator that I wasn't allowed to use your domain name in my email address.
Wow.
That was kind of funny.
So you had to further trick them then.
I think I just did something like number 1 or some random thing. Anything but their name, I think I needed to do.
Or like replace the one, or replace the I with 1 or something.
Something like that.
So, anyways, as you can see, I recently reviewed StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void.
I see. Lots of fire and lasers and magical beings, I think?
Something like that.
Okay.
So the Legacy of the Void is the chapter with all the psychic aliens in it.
Those would be the magical spinny things that I saw? Okay.
Yeah. So, it was pretty fun, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So, I might be talking about the web fonts and the optimizations and the conversation with the one guy. So, I guess I'll have to put a link to that. Let's see. Aside from that, things might be going a little slow because of the holidays. At least, like, as far as, like, my personal stuff. I might be biking again because I have it set up in the basement.
That looks like a pretty nice setup. I bet you get a lot of use out of that. The only trouble is if you're...
Well, it's only been up for, like, maybe 24 hours.
And you've already got 24 minutes on it?
Well, 45-ish.
The only thing I saw with that is if you have a speedometer mounted it to, which I didn't notice if you did or not.
I did not.
Oh, you did not, because you used your phone. So this, what I'm going to say, still applies. You can't track how far you went.
Well, I can sort of gauge it by just how long I've been riding it.
Which is probably a pretty fair thing.
Yeah, so, granted I did 45 minutes, but, like, I used to go out for, like, an hour and a half. But I haven't been, like, doing anything for about 2 months. So, it's like, okay, well, don't feel bad. Just keep doing it, and eventually you get up to where you used to, and then stop worrying about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty neat idea. Because that's when I was back when I lived in my apartment. I had thought about getting an exercise bike a few different times, just for something to do to get some exercise if I didn't feel like, going out on the street or at nighttime to go walk someplace. That's a nice idea because it's just being able to use your bicycle. That's nice.
That you already have.
Exactly. You don't have to go buy something else. And now for moving, you already have your bicycle, so you have to move that or whatnot. And now it's just this little smaller device that you would have to move instead of a whole nother exercise bike that's heavy and all that.
Yeah. So, and then you might not have seen, but I had the monitor up on top of the server down there. And I also had the little crappy speakers next to it, so like I can actually like watch something while I'm down there.
Oh, there you go. That's a nice idea. So you can get your exercise and watch movies.
Yes. The only downside, the big downside, is that the furnace is right there, so that's a whole lot of noise.
Ah, I see. Need Bluetooth earbuds or something. I was gonna say watch TV, then I realized that was not what you were doing.
Yes. So, of course, what I have down there is like the 15-inch CRT, so like widescreen is like going to be letterboxed.
I remember when 15-inch was a very respectable screen size.
Yes, like everyone had 15-inch CRTs, at least like decent ones.
And then I remember when 17 was cool.
That one behind there. So yes, my deluxe 20th century PC.
And then I remember going back and using the computer we had, our first one that had like a 7 or an 8er on it, and just looking at it, I was like, how did you do anything on that screen? Like, it's so small, you couldn't even open a web page on that or anything. It's so small. But we used it, and we thought it was enough at the time.
Well, you see, before that, you didn't have anything at all.
So it was cool to have anything.
Yes.
Then. It's like the you know how they, for blind people, they're experimenting with implants that you can do it, and they, put the electrodes into your brain, and you can see, like, these couple of blocky things, and the guy waves his hand, you see, like, these blocks on the screen in your eye going back and forth, and, oh, I can see him waving his hand! It's the better than nothing thing. Someday they'll get actual good vision, and like, wow, I used that? That's pretty bad.
Yeah, maybe someday we can actually, like, grow eyes inside the heads of people. Like blind people?
That could be nice for them. That way they could have real eyes instead of the made-up, invented electrical circuits.
Yeah. So, like, I was thinking, it's like, well, maybe, like, in some kind of sci-fi story with, like, the little, like, magical wand that sort of, like, regrows body parts. It's like, ow! Like, someone stabbed me in the eye, and, like, now my eye is, like, all gross and stuff. It's like, okay, hold still. Wow, I can see really good now. Can you do it to the other one?
Fix it, I can make it better.
So, yeah, sorry for the mental image there, but so yeah. And then you said that you'd want to go out and deer hunting again?
That would be after Christmas. The muzzleloader season would start, so that would be my plans for then. In between then, I'll probably be doing more 3D printing stuff, as I have been doing a lot lately. Have I showed you my 3D printed airplane?
No, you didn't.
Okay, I can probably bring it up here.
So, yeah, because you showed me that little, like, what is it, the chassis for your little car or something?
That'll probably be the next one I'll show you, that I may have already showed you. It's missing a piece there, but
I can see that.
I have printed it since.
So, what are you using to hold it together, or will
I have
use?
Carbon rods coming from China. It's only going to take 2 months to get here. Hopefully, I've paid close to a month now. Hopefully, it may get here soon. Anyways, carbon rods, and since it's ABS plastic, I can use acetone and melt it together. So it's basically welding the plastic together. So it should be really strong. That's also why it's weird colors, because I've already sprayed acetone on these parts and sanded some of them, so it's a bit weird looking. Probably paint them eventually. Anyways, so hook them together, and theoretically it should be able to put parts into it to make an actual flying RC jet, fully 3D printed airplane. And the original guy that designed it used a different type of plastic, but I used a type that's more flexible and lighter, so I should have hopefully a better airplane. We'll see how that goes, though. And then my other one is, I think maybe this is one you did already see, was my 3D printed Bobcat thing, and you can see I've got the radio hooked up, and I was running off of 5 volts from a wall outlet the other day, since my battery charger hasn't come yet. And so I was driving it around on a tray within a few inches, which was the range of my wires that were attached to the back of it. But it does function and raise the bucket up and down, and it was kind of fun. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, and probably will keep playing with.
Cool.
Next step, radio control, lawnmower.
Well, if you could actually mow the lawn, that would be incredibly useful.
I know, and then, so you can hook up video cameras on it, and like, so you see the grass in front of you, behind you, beside you, and then you can sit at your computer and play a video game, which is actually a lawn mowing game. Phase 2, break it out on the internet where people can come and play the game, the mowing game, and mow my lawn for me. See, I've got this all figured out.
And they'll say, wow, these are really nice graphics.
It's so real. I drove over the cat, and the blood splattered everywhere!
And the video artifacts were amazing!
I mean, I couldn't believe it, and the blood straight on the camera too. It's so lifelike.
Yes, and the color is exactly what I would expect.
Yes, just the detail of the cat was incredible, and the inner parts of it.
The
so
fur
detailed.
Was so nice.
There was the triangles on his face. It just brought it out.
Yes, and that cat had some very frightening polygons. Too fun.
So yes.
Alright, so I guess that's it.
I guess so.
So have a good one.
You too.